Bangladesh needs to take urgent actions, including further adaptation and resilience measures, to avoid risking its growth potential, says World Bank in its Country and Climate Development Report for Bangladesh released on Monday. The report outlines priority actions and financing needs to help Bangladesh address the climate crisis. Highlighting the impact of climate change, the report says that it will hit poor and vulnerable people the hardest. The average tropical cyclones cost Bangladesh about 1 billion USD annually. By 2050, a third of agricultural GDP would be lost and 13 million people would become internal climate migrants. In case of a severe flooding, GDP would fall by as much as 9%, says the report. The air pollution in Bangladesh costs about 9% of GDP annually, says the World Bank report. By implementing policies that abate both air pollution and emission, Bangladesh can reduce deaths from air pollution by half or save nearly 1 million lives within 2030. Currently, the greenhouse gas emissions in Bangladesh are not significant, but it is likely to increase significantly if country follows business as usual development pathway. The World Bank recommended investments in infrastructure and services to strengthen climate resilience. The report called for action focused on improved agriculture productivity, energy, transport efficiency, which can lower future emissions while improving air, soil, and water quality. The United Nations, Turkey, and Ukraine on Monday agreed to implement a Black Sea grain deal despite Russia's withdrawal from the pact. Russia halted its role in the Black Sea deal for an indefinite term. Moscow said that it would not guarantee the safety of civilians, ships traveling under the pact after an attack on its Black Sea fleet. United Nations said in a statement that it had agreed with Ukraine and Turkey on a movement plan for 16 vessels, but Russia has not responded to Monday's transit plan. Black Sea Grain Initiative was launched by Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and United Nations on 22nd July 2022 to enable the resumption of exports from Ukraine of grain, other foodstuffs, and fertilizer through a safe maritime humanitarian corridor from Ukraine ports in the Black Sea to the rest of the world. US President Joe Biden will attend November's COP27 United Nations Climate Summit in Egypt. The conference will be held in the Red Sea resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. The White House said in a statement on Friday that President Biden will advance the global climate fight and help the most vulnerable build resilience to climate impacts, and he will highlight the need for the world to act in this decisive decade. US officials said Joe Biden has no intention to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin at the G20 summit, even if Putin attends. They said Mr. Biden also has no plans to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, with US-Saudi relations under new strain over Riyadh's recent support for oil production cuts. Biden will be at the summit on November 11 before heading to Cambodia for the annual US-ASEAN summit and then on to Indonesia for a G20 summit. The White House said Mr. Biden will work with G20 partners to address key challenges such as climate change, global impact of Russian President Vladimir Putin's war on Ukraine, including on energy and food security and affordability, and a range of other priorities. COP26 last year ended with a pledge to keep global warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial levels, a goal the world is set to miss on current emission trends. In Russia's latest advocacy campaign over its invasion of Ukraine, Moscow has focused on accusations that Kyiv might be planning to use a so-called dirty bomb, a conventional explosive device laced with toxic nuclear materials. Kyiv and its Western allies say there is no truth at all to the accusation, and the idea that Ukraine would poison its own territory is patently absurd. They say Moscow could be making the allegation to justify an escalation of its own. Dirty bombs do not create city flattening atomic explosion but are designed to spread toxic waste. Security experts have worried about them mostly as a form of terrorist weapon to be used on cities to cause havoc among citizens rather than as a tactical device for use by warring parties in conflict. Experts say the immediate health impact would probably be limited since most people in an affected area would be able to escape before experiencing lethal doses of radiation, but the economic damage could be massive from having to evacuate urban areas or even abandon whole cities. In testimony to the United States Senate during the Obama administration, physicist Henry Kelly, then president of the Federation of Scientists, outlined a wide range of hypothetical scenarios depending on the amount and type of nuclear material used and how far it was spread. A bomb using radioactive cesium from a misplaced or stolen medical device might require the evacuation of an area of several city blocks, making it unsafe for decades. A piece of radioactive cobalt from a food irradiation plant could, if blasted apart in a bomb in New York, contaminate a 380 square mile area that is 1,000 square kilometer, potentially make the island of Manhattan uninhabitable, Kelly said. Billionaire Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. The $44 billion deal was closed on Friday. On the eve of the deal, Musk reassured advertisers after they voiced concern about the plans to scale back content moderation and potential conflicts of interest, reports said. The reason I acquired Twitter is because it is important to the future of civilization to have a common digital town square where a wide range of beliefs can be debated in a healthy manner without resorting to violence. Musk tweeted, interestingly, Elon Musk financed the takeover with his own personal assets, investment funds, and bank loans, among others. Initially, Musk did not want to source more than $15 billion from his personal assets. He intended to take loans backed by his shares in electric vehicle maker Tesla Inc. and contribute around $12.5 billion to the deal. However, he dumped the loan plan and decided to make his own investments in cash. He sold around $15.5 billion worth of Tesla shares in April and August. In the end, over $27 billion was invested by him in cash to close the Twitter deal. Major banks have provided $13 billion of debt financing to support the deal. Many investment groups and other funds also pumped in money to help fund the deal. Their contribution was $5.2 billion. Larry Ellison, the co-founder of software company Oracle, wrote a $1 billion check to finance it. After tomato soup was thrown at a Van Gogh painting, anti-fossil fuel activists tossed mashed potatoes at a Claude Monet painting in a German museum on Sunday. Two environmental protesters threw mashed potatoes over the piece of art. This comes just 9 days after two girls in London threw tomato soup at famous painter Van Gogh's Sunflowers painting. The protesters, who belong to a German environmental group, Let's Stay Generation, tried justifying their action by saying that their stunt is a mere warning about the impending climate catastrophe. They could be heard saying, "People are starving, people are freezing, people are dying. We are in a climate catastrophe, and you are afraid of is tomato soup or mashed potatoes on a painting. You know what I am afraid of? I am afraid because science tells us that we won't be able to feed our families in 2050. Does it take mashed potatoes on a painting to make you listen? This painting is not going to be worth anything if we have to fight over food. When will you finally start to listen? When will you finally start to listen and stop business as usual? They added. Let's State Generation share the video on their Twitter handle and wrote, "We make this money the stage and the public the audience. If it takes pelting a painting with mashed potato or tomato soup to remind society that the fossil course is killing us all, then we give you mashed potato on a painting." A spokesperson for the museum said the painting was protected by glass, and the museum later said it did not appear to have been damaged. Rishi Sunak has formally taken charge as Britain's first Indian origin Prime Minister after an audience with King Charles III on Tuesday. Rishi Sunak is the first person of Indian origin to become the British Prime Minister. He is the fifth Conservative Party leader elected to the top post in the past 6 years. Rishi Sunak on Tuesday made history after becoming Britain's first Indian origin Prime Minister. He was elected unopposed as the new leader of the governing Conservative Party on Monday, following Penny Mordaunt's withdrawal from the race. Rishi Sunak, born on 12th May 1980 in England's Southampton, is a Conservative Party leader and has been active in politics since 2010. Sunak won UK's 2015 general election from Richmond. The 42-year-old served as Parliament Under Secretary in former Prime Minister Theresa May's second term. Rishi Sunak was a member of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Select Committee and Parliamentary Private Secretary at the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy for 2 years from 2015 to 2017. Later, he served as Treasury Chief Secretary under the Boris Johnson government in 2019. Sunak was promoted to Chancellor of the Exchequer in 2020, considered Britain's second most important position. Sunak is married to Akshada Murthy, who is the daughter of Infosys founder N.R. Narayana Murthy. Sunak has faced criticism for his wealthy wife's non-domiciled tax status. The tax status allows a person who was born in another country or if their parent is from another country to pay tax in UK only on their UK income. London recently saw a surge in new warnings over a significant increase in rough sleeping amid concerns of higher cost of living, forcing more people onto the streets. An increase of 21% has been recorded by official data in the number of people sleeping rough in the capital of UK. London Mayor Sadiq Khan stated that without government intervention, the progress made in sheltering people since the COVID-19 pandemic would be reversed. He called for an immediate freeze on private sector rents, the lifting of the benefit cap, and the unfreezing of housing benefits, and more resources for local councils to aid the ones sleeping on the streets. The mayor said our outreach workers, charity teams, healthcare professionals, and council staff are not only vital partners in this work but unsung heroes. He added, despite this progress, extraordinary financial pressures are putting the poorest Londoners at growing risk of homelessness, with number of people sleeping rough already up in the air. United Nations Day is celebrated on October 24. It marks the anniversary of the entry into force in 1945 of the UN Charter, with the ratification of its founding document by majority of its signatories, including 5 permanent members of its Security Council. The Charter of the United Nations is the founding document of the United Nations. It was signed on 26 June 1945 in San Francisco at the conclusion of the United Nations Conference on International Organization and came into force on 24 October 1945. United Nations can take action on a wide variety of issues due to its unique international character and the powers vested in its charter, which is considered an international treaty. As such, the UN Charter is an instrument of international law and UN member states are bound by it. The UN Charter codifies the major principles of international relations, from sovereign equality of states to the prohibition of the use of force in international relations. The mission and work of the organization have been guided by purposes and principles contained in its founding charter, which has been amended three times in 1963, 1965, and 1973. India and US have sent a tough message on tackling terrorism, saying perpetrators of 2611 Mumbai attack must be brought to justice. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar trained his guns at Pakistan for continuing to protect the key conspirators of Mumbai's 2611 terror attacks. He also criticized China for blocking attempts by India and US to list terrorists at the UN. Dr. Jaishankar was addressing the inaugural session of the UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee in Mumbai on October 28, supporting India's stand on global terrorism. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that perpetrators of 2008 carnage must be brought to justice. Dr. Jaishankar said the planners of Mumbai attacks are unpunished still and UN Security Council had failed to act when it comes to proscribing some terrorists due to political consideration, reiterating his stand taken at the international body's high level section in New York last month. The External Affairs Minister said India understood the cost of terrorism more than others. British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly extended his condolence to the family members of the victims of 2611 Mumbai terror attack and vowed to prevent such acts from taking place again. The second day of UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee meeting will take place in New Delhi on 29th October. The theme of the special meeting is countering the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes. The meeting will further deliberate on ways and means to battle the new face of terrorism as strengthened by newer and more advanced technologies such as social media, online payments, and UAVs.